So today we were going to talk about safety, because I know that's an area that you have to pay a great deal of attention to. I know that when I see your children, they're always dressed in really bright t-shirts, and they have their name and their phone number on it. And people think, what's that all about? So tell me a bit more.
Well, when you have nonverbal learners, kids, they can't tell you if they get separated from you, or not that they run away or take off, but when you're in crowds and such, they're not able to tell you who they are or what number to call when they get lost. So I tend to use the bright colors so you could pick them out in the crowd, and have their names and phone number written on so that we could be contacted when they're found.
Has that happened to you?
Yes, many a times. More than what we would like.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's every parent's worst fear, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's, I think no matter how much vigilance you have, those things do happen. It only takes a second.
Yeah, and your children are teenagers, and that doesn't mean you can relax your vigilance, does it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And it can happen anywhere. It can happen in the streets of Vancouver, or any big city, or it could just happen in the store too. So,
your child just decides they're going to, either they just walk away, or they get separated from you.
That's right.
Yeah.
They can't tell us something that's interesting them, so they might just go ahead and
go back to look at it.
That's right, but without thinking that's going to cause some sort of trouble for us. But you know, all it takes sometimes is to look down and tie your shoelace as well.
And they're gone.
And they're gone. So.
And that's when your heart sinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Big time.
So, in terms of safety, when your learners work with special ed assistants, what do you say to them? How do you help them to understand that on the one hand we have some teenagers here who don't want to be made to look stupid by having someone hold their hand. On the other hand, they need to be able to be monitored as they cross the street and they do the kinds of things where they might be in danger. How do you help them understand what's necessary around safety?
Well, we remind everybody that yes, they might be teenagers, but cognitively they might not quite be there. It's like islands, and we don't want to treat them like little kids, holding their hands and such. We like to give them as much space as we can, but when it does come to street safety or such, we do need to have them within arm's length, because they don't always know.
So is the issue an issue of not understanding consequence?
I think so. I think that's a big part of it. So repetition, doing things every day helps, but you don't know if it's really...
You can't trust it, in other words.
No.
Even though the children might stop at the red light and sit and wait for you, you don't know that one day they will just go because they don't think about it.
Exactly.
Or see something on the other side of the street and run out.
Exactly. So, and you don't want to find out after.
A terrible accident. No, that's right. So safety is a whole lot of things, though, isn't it? It's I know, because when we interview people to try and find people to work with your children, some of the issues that are difficult to communicate is that, as you say, on the one hand you have teenagers, you don't want to treat them like little children, although sometimes their functional emotional age is that of a little child, because they don't understand consequence. So it's getting this right, isn't it? Getting them the judgment to know when it's safe and when it's not safe. Because that can happen even in your house, right?
Oh, it can. It can. Anywhere and everywhere. The kids could be flight risks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't think of always having to lock doors and such, but it only takes a second again.
And I notice you have a lot of locks on your doors.
Yes, because it just takes a second, and when that happens,
Well, I remember when it happened the last time, which was very stressful. And it wasn't really that your daughter ran away. I think she wanted just to go for a little walk to see something that she'd seen in the car.
I think so, and the thing is, I think she knew she was going out, but timing-wise, she was ready to go out. Yeah, we weren't quite ready to go.
We weren't there to go,
That's
so
right.
she just went anyway.
That's right. You know, and she didn't, it's not like she did that on purpose. It was just, I'm ready to go. What's the issue?
And then she was gone.
So, I think that way too, for caregivers to work with these kids, from my experience, I've learned that it's best to even take a picture of the kids before you leave for the day.
On your cell phone.
On your cell phone.
And then you know what they're wearing. And
exactly, because when things happen, you may know what they're wearing or what they're like, but...
Well, that's I don't want to bring back the bad memory, but I was there when it happened, and we called the police, we called 911. They came right away with their dog. And they said, what was she wearing?
And I had the hardest time remembering.
Yeah, and that's when he said, well, you know, you would find, and it was actually the policeman, I think, who said, be really helpful if you advise your people to take pictures every day they go out, because it really helps us. Exactly. And they were very helpful, weren't they?
They were.
And their police dog was who actually found her.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it was a very stressful time, but it was interesting as well, because me as a parent, as well as my husband, we're scared. Our emotions were just overwhelmed. Yet we see my daughter come out of the police car just laughing,
having had a good time,
and it was hard to comprehend.
For her, she'd been on a little adventure, got to meet the dog, got to drive in the nice car, and we're all having heart attacks.
Exactly. But again, I think the safety officers were quite something. They understand.
And it struck me that this wasn't the first time for them.
No.
And I know with many, many children with autism, this is a big problem for families, that their kids don't necessarily have a sense of consequence, and so they will just walk away or just go something they saw down the street, and they just think, oh, I'll just go look at that. And if they're nonverbal, in the case of your two children, they can't tell you.
No. And it might be, I'll be back before they know it. But we might know before they come back.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
So those are really great ideas, and we'll put some pictures in on those ideas to show how, by putting the name and phone number on a t-shirt, you're really helping that in case anything happens, because the children can't say this for themselves. Exactly. And the other one of when the caregiver takes a child out on a community outing, that before they leave the house, they take a cell phone picture of what they're wearing. So, and you can do that yourself as a parent as well. If you're going to a gathering downtown to say something, and you're going out as a family, you could take a small picture, just so you don't want this to happen, but if it does, that your panic doesn't overwhelm your memory.
Exactly. And it could be deleted. Once the day's done, the picture could be deleted. So it's a huge, huge help.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
What other one will we do?